right, hi everyone. My name is Tui Nguyen and I'm from the University of Iowa and I'm the founder of Optic Origin. And at Optic Origin, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to create a system that would allow each and everybody access to prescription glasses. And so according to the World Health Organization, there are over 3 billion people who are vision impaired and who are in need of glasses. But out of these 3 billion people, there are 1 billion who cannot access it. And so what's the problem here? Well, the problem is that there's a huge barrier of cost, and even through vision plans and Medicare, Medicaid, there's still a huge gap at roughly about 30% that cannot afford vision correction. And this is becoming such a huge problem because the demands are growing at roughly about 10% per year. So around this time next year, there's going to be about 100,000 more people who are vision impaired just because they cannot afford a pair of glasses. And this is quite unfortunate because a lot of these people who are vision impaired, they oftentimes feel this isolation, and it's been a problem for them to even achieve their educational goals and their mobility and their independence. And so we are proposing 2 solutions. And so every year there's roughly about 100,000 tons of waste that are produced per year that are thrown away. And so we are in hope to create a matching platform that would repurpose these lenses and capture them and put them in storage on a database system. So this matching platform allows underserved communities to insert their prescription and in real time utilize an algorithm to match them to a 90% or above prescription match. And so since we are only collecting lenses, we are in hope to build adaptable frames. And this is also going to be our funding mechanisms. And so how the frame works is that it would attach itself to the lenses. And then from here, we would be distributing them to underserved communities and also to the eye clinics. And so just a little bit background about me. I am originally from Vietnam. But I grew up in the Malaysian refugee camp before my family and I had the opportunity to immigrate here to the United States. And so growing up, I never really had a lot. So I really know how it feels to, not have enough and all the obstacles of, the financial obstacles that you need to overcome in order to achieve your dreams. And so the first opportunity I had, I traveled to Riobamba, Ecuador on a medical mission trip called MedLife. And at this medical mission trip, we were able to serve over 3,000 patients in several different areas, such as dentistry, pharmacy, OBGYN, family medicine. And then I remember even giving educational courses to these students. But I remember teaching them how to wash their hands and brush their teeth. And half of the kids were squinting because they couldn't see what I was teaching them. And so that was such a shock to me that we were providing all these healthcare opportunities to make these people's lives better, but we didn't have vision care. And so I returned back to the United States and I saw my first eye surgery and I just completely fell in love because after the eye surgeries, I was able to interact with these patients, and really hear how much their life has improved since they've had vision. Even one guy was saying, my son's graduation is in 2 weeks and I'm able to see, and I haven't been able to see for the last 6 months before my cataract surgeries and things like that. And so that has prompted my pre-medical studies here at the University of Iowa. So while studying, I got a job here at McDonald Optical Clinic in Iowa City. And this is when I was able to interact with a lot of the patients. But at our eye clinic, we have a program that's called the ICCSD program that we give away 5 free pairs of eyeglasses and 5 free exams per month. And so I remember sitting down with a 12-year-old girl, giving her a pair of glasses, and her first pair of glasses, and she had a -4 diopter. At a -4 diopter, if you see here on the far right, that's what she sees when she's sitting in her classroom. And this was her first pair of glasses. And she put them on and, she looked around and she smiled. It was just the first time that she was able to see clearly. And she looked at her mom and she smiled. And something she asked that, just made my heart fall down to my foot was that, Twee, is there any way that we can also get a pair of glasses for my mom? And that was just, so sad for me because I was the one that had to say no because the program that we do is only for the students at the Iowa City School District. And so all these experiences have really inspired the creation of Optic Origin. And so at Optic Origin, we are trying to create a web-based platform that would allow the disadvantaged people to access prescription glasses to little or no cost at all. And so these are our key players. So we have the eye clinics, the optical labs, Optic Origin, and our underserved communities. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how all of these kind of interplay together. So this is our operational model. So our revenue model is that Optic Origin would be creating and manufacturing these universal frames that are ultimately can be distributed to eye clinics. And eye clinics currently are in need of these frames, not only to help with their revenue model, but for patient satisfaction. And in return, that's going to be our funding mechanisms to help in our giving model. And so while I was doing, I just returned back from the Vision Expo not too long ago, and I found out that a lot of these optical labs, roughly about 2 to 5% of their lenses that are imperfect lenses, are tossed away. And these are brand new lenses that are tossed just because they do not pass inspection. And so we're collecting those donated lenses and attaching them to our universal frames and then distributing them to underserved communities who are in need. And so our market potential, the eyewear industry is huge. It's sitting at $123 billion. Currently, there's over 40,000 eye clinics all across the United States. And we're hoping to capture that's obtainable here in the Iowa Vision Centers and at 22 million. And so our milestones, we've certainly came a long way since Optic Origin was founded back in fall of 2020. We validated needs of both underserved communities, the eye clinics. We've assembled a team. We are currently partnering up with eye clinics and nonprofits in order to kind of get across the revenue model as well as get across to the underserved communities who needs these glasses. We are currently doing an 11-week Hawkeye Summer Accelerator program, and I've just returned back from the Vision Expo and hoping that from that knowledge, we gain a better understanding of our approach from here. And our matching platform will be hopefully done by August of this year. And so our team, I'm so grateful to have such a talented team. So Christian is currently a student at the University of Iowa studying computer science and computer engineering. He has also had some startup experience, and he will be building the matching platform. In the fall of 2021 of this year, we will be having 3 other students join him in order to kind of put this together. Seamus, who has a background in biomedical engineering and human physiology, who is also the founder of Able Therapeutics, he will be helping overseeing the program and the startup to see how all this can be interconnected. And Isla, who is studying public health, would be our public health coordinator to kind of branch out in ways that we can approach these underserved communities. And so at Optic Origin, our main goal, again, is to be able to build a system that would enable each and everybody to access vision correction anytime and anywhere in the world. Thank you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Sweet. Thank you so much for presenting. I love the story and where you're going. And so not really a question, but just connecting to some other folks that have presented in the Million Cups community. One, I was just curious by chance if you know Dr. John Lensing, and if not, it might be interesting to reach out to him. But he's a medical doctor from Iowa and recently started something called Open Loop. So again, doing the entrepreneurial component, and he just might have some guidance for you on what his journey has been, both from kind of medical practice and startup founder. And so in his journey, he's just a few years ahead of you, kind of, from an age perspective, but he might have some recent stories to share with you. So again, his name's John, Jon, Lensing, and his company's Open Loop, and they've presented with our community in the past.
That sounds great. Thank you, Matt. I have that written down.
Yeah,
here.
awesome.
Thanks for your presentation today, Twee. I love the idea. Like Matt said, I think this is like a really great need. I wear glasses in the evenings and I go through them regularly every couple of years. I'm like, this seems so wasteful, like getting rid of these. I wish there was a better solution. So I'm so glad that you've come up with one. I guess I'm curious, what do you think is going to be your biggest hurdle to making this project company come to life?
Yeah, definitely. We certainly have a lot as we're kind of approaching here, but I think one of my main concerns is that something that I was confirming during the Vision Expos when I was talking to some of the vendors. Let me kind of go back and see if I can show that here. So the current design for this, so if you see to the right, so rimless glasses has already been invented. So what's going on right now is they're actually mounting. So they drill 4 little holes into these lenses, okay? And usually it's adapted through like an adhesive glue or some sort. But since we are building an adaptable universal frame, the capability of these frames have to have the ability to adhere to any shape, any lens, any size, and should be able to modulate through that. And so that's probably one of our most difficulties. So when I was interviewing the vendor from the expo, he said that, you know, something like this is never done before without drilling the holes. So that's something I think we are kind of struggling with as far as kind of coming to a prototype and something that's functional.
I have an idea for that. Instead of trying to make like the whole frame like adapt to lenses, could you take individual pieces, and because you have like, you know, round glasses or round lenses and oval lenses, could you just make I mean, it might sound wasteful, but like do a couple different pieces for each like lens shape? Because, you know, you usually like you have round or oval lenses, so maybe if you just had, you know, an attachment piece for circular lenses versus oval, it might be a little easier. And since you're just starting out, maybe see what type of lens is the most common. I think I see like oval lenses is like, I like everybody I see has, you know, has like at least some sort of oval lens. So maybe just start out with that. And then, you know, go down the road of, okay, we have, you know, this pattern down. Now let's see what percentage of other types of lenses we get in. The other thing too, I'm wondering is how you're like going to produce this. Is it like a 3D printing, or like are you going to take recycled materials and, you know, kind of like a Lions kind of thing, like they try and recycle like the whole part of it to like save precious materials and things like that. So I was just wondering about, you know, how material wise, like what you're planning on doing that way.
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for your recommendations with the shape. That certainly kind of narrows it down a little bit. But as far as materials, so that's kind of our approach when we were hoping to design these frames. And so there are 5 pieces. So we have the bridge, the hinge, and the temple. So they all come in separate pieces. And so really the only mechanisms that need to have that modulation is in that hinge area. So by us creating such a limited amount of resources just by building rimless frames versus creating a whole entire frame, I think that just in itself is a little bit more sustainable. And so back to kind of the Lions Club, I do kind of have a slide on that. So it's something that we kind of found out during the process of speaking to these organizations that do kind of similar things, but they only collect frames and lenses, okay? And a lot of times there's such a huge problem with this because when glasses come in, they have already been bent and modulated to that patient. So they're adjusted to that patient. And so when they're distributed to these patients, it doesn't fit because there's different size of temple lengths. And so these patients, when they get them, it doesn't fit as well. And also the fact that it's very particular for that patient, it comes in different colors. And so by us creating something that's more universal, we're able to modulate that. We're able to take off the temple, we're able to put on a different color temple. And the shape would be more open, I guess, to more people who wants it versus, you know, versus like a pink frame or a blue frame. And something we found out that was very crucial is that Lions Club collects all these frames and lenses, but for any reason that the frame is broken, they throw the whole entire lenses away. So that's a partnership opportunity for us. So that's where Optic Origin comes in and we're able to collect those lenses. So that's another sustainability ways that we can kind of help with that as well. And as far as 3D printing, I think that's something that we are looking into. And that's probably going to be the most effective, affordable way that we're going to go about it. But the only thing that we are concerning is that that hinge mechanism there and whether or not if that's going to be able to be printed.
Have you talked to oh, why can I not think of it? They're in the Merge building. They're like part of the university. They do 3D printing. Maybe somebody else can. Yeah, Proto Studios. Yeah, maybe they could help you out with that because they design medical pieces and things like that. So that might be something you could contact them about to go that route. So
yes, perfect. Thank you. We have reached out to them. And I think the only thing that's kind of deterring our way is I think it's completely possible to create these frames, but we are trying to have a mechanical engineer that will be able to print that, because the capability of that modulation is going to be a little bit more difficult for us to create something that has that ability. Um, but I would certainly talk with them a little bit more. Hopefully they maybe can have some suggestions to go from that, since I think the last time we spoke with them, we've kind of pivoted our project a little bit. So thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, Twee. This is David. Could you show us your market slide?
First.
Perfect. So could you talk a little bit about your plans to roll this out with your target market customers?
Yeah, definitely. So one advantage that we have is that, with working at the eye clinic, I see a lot of patients who comes in, and oftentimes, their glasses are broken. And usually the turnaround time to make glasses is anywhere from 5 to 7 business days. And so these people are walking around without any vision correction for some time. So I remember a PhD student coming in, and he had his dissertation that week. And I was going around looking for frames to fit his lenses in, and this doesn't happen very often. And so when I was able to find one for him, he was very grateful. And so I feel like somebody like him or other patients would be our early adopters. And so we are hoping to roll this out through eye clinics. The first eye clinic would be at the clinic that I work at. So as of right now, we are wasting probably anywhere from 2 to 3 hours per week trying to help these patients get their very specific lens shape and then try to find a frame that fits. And oftentimes we can't find a match. And so by introducing these adaptable frames to the eye clinics, the optical specialists can attach them and give them to the patients to use in the meantime until their new glasses arrive. So that is kind of our strategy at the moment.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Yeah, and I'd love to hear everybody else's feedback too. So.
Where can people contact you, Twee?
Yeah, definitely. So let me pull this over. So just at my email address here, tweetwin@uiowa.edu.
So I have things going through my brain with this. You know how you can at just about any drugstore, Walgreens, CVS, there's the rack of reading glasses, and so I know my mom does this where she just will go through and find the one that's the right number for that sort of thing. What kind of how there's inventory of those reading glasses, and I'm almost thinking, for folks like that PhD student who had the dissertation coming up, are you going to have inventory of a handful of different prescriptions available just as like a temporary until you get the thing done, or is this going to be kind of a just-in-time kind of operation? How do you see this going with inventory?
Yeah, definitely, Jay. So ours kind of are split into 3 ways and how the frames kind of work. So the frames are delivered at the eye clinics, but we are attaching those frames into the patient's original lenses.
Okay.
So their frames are broken, but then we are connecting that to have them use in the meantime until new frames and lenses are created. So that's our first revenue. The second revenue is we are able to sell these frames brand new. So rimless glasses are very popular, and they're becoming more and more popular just because of how comfortable they are. And so we are also hoping to sell these frames to eye clinics that we can market, potentially commercialize it, because that's the second. The third is that we are collecting those imperfect lenses from optical labs, and we are attaching the lenses. And then from that pair, we are distributing them to the underserved community. So there are 3 segments.
Nice. Very cool.
To piggyback off of that, to help get these to the underserved communities, is there like a database then of this community needs, I have this person and this, I'm wondering how the database and networking it all, how you're connecting to these people that need it, and kind of to go off of that, like to serve the underserved communities. Are you like going to the people that are helping that? Like, how are you finding out who needs glasses in these places, and how are you connecting them to, say whatever optician is in that area, like how you're distributing it between, in that underserved community?
Yeah, definitely. So that's where kind of our partnership up with kind of the nonprofits going to come in. So there are mobile clinics or like low income housing families. And so we are currently collecting kind of a database of all the people who need. So we have currently about 27 people that we have put in together in the spreadsheet. And so how this database work is that since we are only collecting lenses, it really doesn't take up a lot of area. And so once we get these lenses, it's read through a machine called the lensometer. So the lensometer reads a prescription. So once we have the prescription, we are uploading the prescription up to the database. And so the database kind of stores it there. And then that's where the engineers kind of come in. So they're trying to build an algorithm or a formula. And so these prescriptions, they have something that's called like an ABI value, that it has to match within the tolerance to make sure that the people can see okay. And so the underserved communities, all they would need is an updated prescription. They would log into Optic Origin, they put in their prescription, and the platform itself searches the database and says, hey, we have found a match for you. And then Optic Origin would be delivering those glasses to their house. And one advantage that we have over other companies that has some similar values is that ours is a technology-based, web-based. And so, somebody who's sitting at home can access this and get it delivered to their home, but also we can also expand it to different languages. So barriers of language isn't a problem for those people who are underserved communities.
Any other questions?
Hey, as someone who wears corrective lenses and have since I was a kid, I think this is really cool. It had never occurred to me that lenses could be reused, but why not, right? Like going through new glasses is not because the lenses are bad, it's because my vision is getting worse. So I think this is awesome what you're doing. And my point is the awareness piece of the ability to reuse lenses is new to me, and I'm assuming it's new to a lot of people. So I think that's a great thing to go off of with your marketing and expanding. So good job. I'm really excited to see where you take this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ricardo. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I also wear glasses. Have worn glasses since I was 3. Contacts on today, but the glasses, the expensive thing is always the lenses, and so the being able to provide that to especially to underserved kids is something that's going to change lives. So this is really cool. I love this. Just to kind of finish up, since we are starting to run out of time, we have our traditional final question here at 1MC Iowa City. What can we as the community do to help you?
Yeah, definitely. Since we are at very early stage in our startup, I'd love to hear recommendations from everybody. I feel like everybody has a talent, whether it's in marketing, engineering, or optical, that they can kind of connect to this project. So it's just hearing critique and criticism on ways that we can improve this project. But also currently we have a biomedical engineer who is working with us, but he was hoping to kind of create that adaptable frame, but he has found a full-time job, and his commitment to Optic Origin is a little bit less than what is expected this summer. And so we're hoping to see if you guys know of any mechanical engineers that would have the ability or have any ideas on how we can create these adaptable frames.
Very cool. Looks like you may have just gotten an email from one of the other participants. So awesome. And then we got your contact information. You want to put that slide up for a few more seconds with your email address, just so people can get that written down?